ನಿಮ್ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಖಂಡಿತ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. Someone with brilliant ideas, grand dreams, sparkle in the eyes. ನೋಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ he was born for something brilliant, extraordinary ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. He talks about incredibly extravagant projects. Listening to him, you feel like something big is about to happen. But strangely, nothing ever happens. He lives in possibilities, but he never brings anything to fruition. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಫೇಲ್ಯೂರ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ರೆಡಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. It wasn't the right time. I didn't have the right people around me. ಇಡೀ ಪ್ರಪಂಚನೇ ನನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ. Maybe he is your childhood friend, younger brother, boyfriend, or even father. Someone who, despite his age, psychologically seems to have stopped in time. An adult who still behaves like a boy, emotionally unstable, afraid of commitment, always talking about freedom, but constantly running away from responsibility. And maybe apart, you still hope one day he will change. In analytical psychology, Carl Jung described this pattern as Puer Aeternus, an eternal boy. A man who refuses to grow psychologically, someone who seems to be permanently in transition, as if he is always preparing but never actually beginning. Carl Jung observed this pattern not only in his patients but also in myths and stories within our history. The Puer Aeternus appears as someone who refuses to live the paradise of childhood, a psychological space where everything is protected, cared for, and resolved by someone. Almost like remaining inside a psychic womb of a mother. A place of comfort, a place without responsibility. In this inner world, he lives under a promise of glorious future. A future where he finally becomes extraordinary. But that future never arrives. Psychologically, he experiences himself as someone special, the chosen one, the exceptional one, almost like an eternal son of gods. But in practicality, he never truly takes charge of his life. You may have seen this very closely. Men who jump from job to job, always searching for something more meaningful. Starts the project with excitement, with abandon, with one obstacle. Who fall in love instantly but disappear when real relationships demand maturity. They talk about spirituality, freedom, self-discovery, but struggle with simplest responsibilities like paying bills, maintaining commitment, building something with consistency. And the interesting part is, this is not because they lack intelligence. In fact, Puer Aeternus is often brilliant, creative, and sensitive. He has a strong connection to imagination, creativity, and inspiration. But precisely because of this, he lives in the world of ideas while avoiding the weight of reality. He wants to fly without building wings. He wants to love without commitment, success without effort, the rewards of adulthood without actually paying the price of maturity. And when the world does not deliver this fantasy, he becomes frustrated. He blames the system, he blames his parents, he blames the society, he blames life. But rarely does he blame himself. Jung also observed something really interesting. The Puer Aeternus has strange relationship with time. He lives in what Jung described as not enough. Always waiting for the right moment, right idea, right opportunity, right phase of life. When he lives in when, never in today. And because of this, life slowly passes by. Dreams that once felt inspiring starts becoming burdens. But here's something really important. The problem is not that the man carries a child within him. The inner child carries creativity, imagination, and the ability to dream. The real problem begins when the child becomes a triad. When the child starts controlling the adult, he begins to sabotage the possibility of living a real life. And this sabotage has very deep psychological roots. Because the Puer Aeternus rarely exists alone. Behind him, there is often a psychological presence. In analytical psychology, this is often connected to the archetypal mother. Sometimes this presence is loving, protective, but sometimes it can become psychologically suffocating. Instead of helping someone to grow, it prevents them from facing life. Carl Jung described this nurturing archetypal mother can sometimes become a devouring mother. Not intentionally harmful, but unconditionally trapping. Sometimes this dynamics is very literal. An overprotective mother who solved every problem for her son, who never allowed him to make mistakes, who always rescued him. But by doing so, she prevented him from developing something called as autonomy. Other times, the dynamic is very symbolic. It can appear as the partner who becomes the caregiver, or another nurturing figure who protects and supports endlessly. In this situation, the Puer does not seek a partner, he seeks a substitute for his mother. Someone who understands him without demanding, accepts him without confronting, supports him without his limits. First, this relationship feels comforting, but psychologically it becomes destructive because it prevents confrontation with reality. As long as someone takes care of things, he does not need to act, does not need to decide, he does not need to grow. He remains in the state of eternal emotional childhood, waiting for someone else to solve the responsibilities of life. And often the caregiver does not realize this. She believes she is helping, she believes she is loving, but unknowingly, she feeds the cycle of psychological dependency that drains the vitality of both people. That's why the shadow of Puer Aeternus is so important to understand. Because only when the subconscious patterns becomes visible, real change happens. Jung once said, until you make your unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Real freedom does not come from avoiding responsibilities. Real freedom comes when the person develops the strength to face the reality, takes responsibility, and consciously builds his life. Because the true growth is not an escaping life, it's about growing into it. Today, I want to ask you something. Have you ever seen someone like this? Maybe a friend, maybe someone you loved, or maybe a small part of yourself. Comment below. Sometimes awareness is the first step towards psychological change. And if this video made you reflect, share this with someone who might need to hear this. Because psychology does not just help explain life, it helps us transform it. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe to my channel and see you in the next video.